Illegal dumping and littering is a concern across the Gladstone region, with over 134 offences in the last 18 months. Our region is beautiful, but there are a few bad apples that ruin it for the rest of us, and they need to clean up their act.
Commonly found items at illegal dumping sites across the region include car bodies and batteries, mattresses, tyres, white goods and furniture, and green waste. These items can be disposed of at any of the region's waste transfer stations, some of them even for free.
Illegal dumping and littering pollutes our environment, harms plants and animals, and detracts from the enjoyment of our public spaces. It can lead to stormwater and ocean pollution, with large amounts of plastic, sugar sachets, and cigarette butts caught in stormwater traps and grates.
It's cheaper for everyone to dispose of waste correctly. Illegal dumping and littering costs our ratepayers thousands of dollars each year in waste management and clean-up. It's also costly for our dumper, with penalties of up to $10,000.
We can all work together to keep our region beautiful and dispose of waste responsibly by placing rubbish in the bins, or even holding onto the rubbish until you're near a suitable bin, and using our local waste facilities. Don't be part of the problem of pollution. We want you to be a part of the solution.
From towns to the bush, illegal dumping and littering is everybody's responsibility. Protect our public spaces and natural environment by doing the right thing for today and tomorrow.
If you see illegal dumping,
dive in a dumper.
See it,
report it,
stop it.
Sign up to Council's disaster and weather event warning system. Receive alerts about emergency news, severe weather events and other public safety alerts via SMS or email. Registering to the disaster messaging system is free. To register, visit Gladstone Regional Council's Region Watch website and click on the Register for Warnings button. Get ready, Gladstone. Take the steps to protect what's most important to you. Let's be better prepared and protected for emergencies and disasters.
For the 18th of January 2022, and welcome back, councillors and staff and everyone watching on live stream. The first item on the agenda is apologies, and we have an approved apology from Councillor Muscat, and so no resolution is required there. And Councillor Churchill is online for those watching on live stream. Councillor Churchill's zooming in. Thank you, Councillor Churchill. All other councillors are here. The next item on the agenda is messages of condolence. Councillors, do we have any messages of condolence? I would like to move a message of condolence for and acknowledge the passing of Robin Elsmore. Robin started with Gladstone City Council in February 1972 and left in around about 2001, 2002. So he was here for a very long time, started as our city water engineer and eventually became the city engineer and obviously held that role for very many years. He was heavily involved in developing the city's water supply and sewage system, and that has certainly held the test of time over many years. So thank you, Robin, for that. And of course, Robin and his team were the people in charge of planning Kirkwood Road even before it was lines on a map. So for Robin's family, to Helen and everybody in the Elsmore family, we send our sincere condolences on behalf of Gladstone Regional Council, staff and councillors, and of course the Gladstone region. Thank you, councillors. Any other messages of condolence? No further messages of condolence. I'll move to the next item on the agenda, which is prior notifications of conflicts of interest, and I have two. Councillor Hanson first, please.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. I, Councillor Rick Hanson, advise that in agenda item G3.2, Community Investment Program Elevator Fund, I have a declarable conflict of interest as my wife, Lyndall Hanson, is CEO of Not-for-Profit House. This has been recommended to receive funding from Council in accordance with the Community Investment Program. As a result of my conflict of interest, I will leave the meeting room for this item, and I'm not sure whether you're going to split the items, Mr Mayor, but I am also a life member of GABA, which are getting funding. GAPDL, I'm a council appointee, and Eqip, I'm on an advisory board as well. So I don't know what we do with those, or...
I can help with those. So when you're a council appointed delegate to a board or organisation, you don't have a conflict, so that's fine. And I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, Rowena, that being a life member of an organisation, if you're not on the executive, doesn't constitute a conflict either. So the only conflict I see you have, Councillor Hanson, is with Not-for-Profit House. But you'll leave the room anyway, so I can discuss with councillors whether we split the item. Councillor Churchill has a conflict as well. Over to you, Councillor Churchill.
Yeah, thanks very much for that, Mayor Matt. Are you hearing me okay?
Yes, we are.
Thanks for that. Look, I, Councillor Glenn Churchill, advised that in agenda item G 3.2, Community Investment Program Elevator Fund, I have a declarable conflict of interest as my wife, Susan Elizabeth Churchill, is the outgoing president and current board member of Integrate Queensland, for which it has been recommended to receive funding from Council in accordance with the Community Investment Program. And as a result of my conflict of interest, I will leave the meeting room for this particular agenda item.
Thank you, Councillor Churchill. Councillors, would you like to split that motion into two? We could deal with all other items and then Not-for-Profit House and Integrate Queensland separately. Happy to do that? Councillor Cameron will move that way. Councillor O'Grady will second. Any further discussion or debate? I'll put the motion. All in favour? Thank you, councillors. When we come to that item, we'll split the item into two, and Councillor Churchill and Hanson can leave, and we'll deal with Not-for-Profit House and Integrate separately. Thank you, councillors. The next item on... Any other conflicts before I move on? The next item on the agenda is the Mayor's statement on current issues, and I would like to start by saying I hope everyone had a fantastic Christmas and spending time with family and friends. Obviously, it's that time of the year where in between Christmas and New Year you don't know what day of the week it is, so it's always nice to have some time with family and friends, and I certainly got to catch up with a lot of my family and friends over that period, and that is mostly due to fantastic Deputy Mayor for stepping up as acting mayor in that period and giving me the chance to have a few days. So thank you, Councillor. Good luck for doing that for me. We had a fantastic New Year's Eve event. Obviously, previously we had to cancel because of COVID, but this year we moved it to the Gladstone Ports Corporation Marina Stage, and it was a fantastic event. Well done, great entertainment, fireworks, and everyone really enjoyed themselves. So congratulations, Kylie and your team. Again, always excelling themselves when it comes to putting on big events in our region. And not to be outdone, they've got another big event coming up on Australia Day. And of course, our Australia Day event this year is back at Millennium Esplanade in Tannum Sands. So that starts at 2 p.m. and there are a number of events right across the region. I see there's some in the Boyne Valley, there's some at Turkey Beach, on South End, and I was speaking to the team at Rosedale. So hopefully there's no Rosedale event this year. No, South End has been postponed, I believe. Oh, South End's postponed. Well, certainly keep on Council's website. It's a moving feast, but there will be events right across the region, no doubt. And of course, our big family fun day for the region is at Millennium Esplanade in Tannum Sands, starting at 2 p.m. The night before, we will host our awards ceremony at the Gladstone Entertainment Convention Centre, where we will name our award winners and, of course, our Citizen of the Year. And that's the Mayor's statement of current issues. I'll move to the next item on the agenda, which is the confirmation of the minutes. And G 2.1 is the confirmation of the general meeting minutes for the 21st of December 2021. Move Councillor Trevor, seconded Councillor Churchill. Is there any discussion, debate or corrections? Put the motion. All in favour? That's carried. Thank you, councillors. The next item on the agenda is officers' reports, and the first officers' report is G 3.1, the sale of land, and I'll hand over to the General Manager of Finance, Governance and Risk, Mark Holmes. Thank you, Mark.
Morning, Mayor and councillors. The item before you today is sale of land for arrears of rate. So before you we have a report that identifies 71 properties that qualify for that list. We have received payment of one of those properties since then, so there is a list circulated and to be tabled that will demonstrate that there is 70 properties that qualify for the sale of land action this year. The amount of outstanding rates with respect to that action is in the order of $1 million. And what we're seeking from council at this point is a resolution to commence the process for the formal issuing of notices for the commencement of the legal action. But happy to take questions with respect to that.
Thank you. Councillor Trevor, question?
Thanks, Mayor. I'm happy to move option 1, that council pursuant to section 140 in brackets 2 close brackets of Local Government Regulations 2012 resolved to sell the 71 properties listed in attachment 1 for overdue rates and charges.
Thank you.
The reason, Mayor, the reason why I've moved that motion, as I have often commented previously, and it's actually referred to in the report of the Chief Financial Officer, is that the true utility of sale of land action lies not in its uniqueness and powerful ability, but powerful ability to focus the minds of owners as well as mortgagees on the implications of non-payment of rates, or alternatively on the implications of not abiding by the terms of a payment arrangement which Council has granted in good faith. As we all know, it's our duty and responsibility as one of our first priorities in life to pay our rates. It's unfair of other ratepayers who do pay their rates to see others not paying their rates. And I have a very strong opinion on this, and that is invariably what happens when we issue these notices is that mortgagees come forward if the owner is unable to pay and meet the repayment anyway, the payment of the rate anyway, to protect their security.
Thank you. Seconded by Councillor Hanson. The amendment to the recommendation, though, is there's 70 properties because one has paid. So if you're happy with that.
With that amendment, sorry, Mayor.
Thank you. Okay, any further debate? Councillor Cameron.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. I do support the officer's recommendation. However, I do have a question. If a property that is on the list is subject to some legal proceeding or event, is that affected? How is that affected? Is it set aside or does it just proceed as normal?
It proceeds as normal in terms of the legal action. So generally the recovery of rate process, the only other precedence for that is the recovery of state taxes and property taxes. So in terms of a charge on the land, it is of essentially number 2 in line.
No further questions or comments? Put the motion. All in favour? All in favour? Carried. Thank you. All right, councillors, we'll move to the next item on the agenda, which is G3.2, Community Investment Program Elevator Fund. And as advised earlier, we will split this. I'll hand over to the General Manager of Community Development and Events, Kylie Lee. Thank you, Kylie. We'll deal with...
Mayor, sorry, did we have a seconder for that motion?
Yes, Councillor Hanson.
Oh, sorry.
Yep.
I missed it. Sorry, Rick.
So we'll deal with all bar not-for-profit house and integrate, please, Kylie. Where's he going? Not yet, Councillor Hanson. We're dealing with the others first. Councillor Churchill, we'll deal with all bar integrate. Yeah, we'll deal with the 2 after we deal with the rest, if that's okay.
Good morning, Mr Mayor, councillors. Thank you. This morning we're presenting our elevator fund application. Sorry, turned it off. This morning we're presenting our elevator fund applications, of which we received 9 quite diverse applications. The elevator fund is one of our newer funds within the community investment program and is really intended for those higher risk proposals over $10,000 with applicants that really have the capacity to deliver with competency and planning capability. The applications need to align to at least one of our community development strategy pillars. So they are capacity, place, connect, wellbeing and planning. The panel assessed the 9 applications and have approved 7 for funding in some capacity. There are 2 funding applications that haven't met the required objectives. However, one of those we will be working with the applicant to strengthen the application. The totality of the request exceeds the actual budget for the elevator fund by about $14,296. However, within the actual community investment program overall, we do have the capacity to transfer funds from another area, which does align with our corporate plan objectives of connecting communities and resilient economy. I'll invite questions regarding the applications, noting that we won't discuss the 2 previously mentioned.
Okay, I'll start. The Eqip application. So I understand they've got to meet the criteria of the new fund. When we originally supported the Eqip application, it was a lot of years ago. I was sitting about where Councillor O'Grady is now. And it was to start an amazing program in Gladstone, which is completely unique. Eqip, for those listening online, is Education Queensland Industry Partnership, which we have supported for $30,000 since its inception. Oh, well, as far as I can remember from its inception, certainly from the day they asked for us to support them. I'm not sure, maybe they've applied for the wrong category or not, but over the last couple of years, we've changed our funding streams, so that's made it, they've had to apply for a different stream and then they've got it, then they apply for another different stream and they've got it. And this time, it looks to me that they're going to, if we support the recommendation, miss out on the 2021 year funding, which they've obviously budgeted for and would have expected to get. Firstly, I'd like to give them the $30,000 they've requested, acknowledging that potentially this might be one that needs to be considered separately or in a different category because it is unique and is unique to Gladstone, Gladstone region. Can you talk me through, like, they have technically missed out if we accept this recommendation, a whole year of funding, is that right?
Not necessarily. So essentially the policy, the community investment policy, doesn't allow retrospective funding, which is what Eqip have actually applied for. So they're applying for the 2021 year and not the 2022 year. We have funded them in 2019, 2020. Again, in 2020, they were very late with the application. They submitted the application in October. And this one, again, has been at the end of the year for the year previous. So we will be having discussions. The funding recommendation is $25,000 for partial funding. Again, Mr Mayor, there is capacity within the overall program to support it at 30 if that's what the council would choose.
Councillor Cameron.
Yeah, thank you, Mr Mayor. Look, I did look into this, and the reason that this appears to be retrospective is that this funding started in 2013, I understand, under the Council's Community Donations Assistance Scheme, and then it moved on to the Community Education Fund. Every time this funding position changed, the delivery date moved out. And what it appears to have happened, that it has moved out and crossed a financial year. That's why everything appears to be retrospective, in which case it's not. So they really are one lot of 30,000 behind in real terms. So I would at least expect that they would get the 30,000 that they've requested on this occasion, as they did in the two previous years. We could even possibly consider, I think they are going to apply for funding in the next round, which I believe is April, is that right? Which would probably then bring them back into line.
That makes sense.
Again, if they do apply under the elevator fund, we have extinguished the whole amount of that particular fund. However, we could work with the group to see if there's another potential fund they could apply to.
Yeah, I'd like to see us work with them because it's such an important program. They train young school leavers or school attendees actually, and have done amazing work. And the uniqueness of Gladstone region is our industry that they partner with. That you just see them go from strength to strength in all these different trades. And I've watched it over many years, and it's such a great program. Any councillors, further questions or comments? Councillor Henson.
Yeah, Mr Mayor, it certainly is a unique program, and I guess I've been on the board previously, but the program is unique in Australia, and it assists school goers to go into the trades of Gladstone, which we need invaluably. And, you know, this funding of $30,000 has been in place, which is good, since 2013. But, yeah, I think probably we should be looking at a little bit more to move on with the cost of things as we move through the years.
Further comments, councillors? Councillor Goodluck.
Thanks, Mr Mayor. Kylie, I know this is I believe this is the first round through with the recent changes to the funding streams, and I support what we've done with trying to you know, build capacity and which actually helps, you know, these groups grow in their own governance and their capabilities as well. I just had a question. I can't recall exactly with the panel assessment process, But when we have, obviously requests for certain amounts, and then a number of these funds we've opted to not request the full amount and chosen a different amount, is there some sort of documented process in how we determine what that amount will be, whether it's a percentage, or do we just decide we might do 50 or 60%, whatever it might be? But can you just run me through that process, please?
That's a really good question. Thank you, Councillor Bullock. When the panel go through and actually suggest an alternate amount, we make sure that the actual... Sorry. Thanks, Josh. When the panel does recommend an alternate amount, we make sure that the program can still go ahead, so that's key. So will the funding at a portion, will we actually still be able to see the initiative be delivered? So that's incredibly important, and you'll see there is one instance of that within here. We do go through and have a look at their bank balances and how what their financial performance is, and we also look at what other funding could be made available. So there is a system. We don't apply a percentage because each application is very different in its nature.
And sorry, do we so we communicate with the proponents then to ensure, say that they've requested an amount, we opt to fund 50%. We ensure that that program is able to be delivered with that 50% amount. Yep.
We do, yeah.
Just on that, it was a good question, Councillor. Do we have a documented process in this regard? Is there a documented process on how we actually do that? It was a very good question.
Absolutely. So there is an assessment matrix that all panel members have to actually align with and assess against, and that's very transparent. And we do that so that we can actually provide the feedback to the applicants in where they need to find strength in their applications, and that helps council officers help the applicant to make their applications stronger. So definitely there is absolutely a documented process on how we assess community investment program applications.
Councillor Goodluck, more question?
Sorry, so just with the, we've got the colour-coded matrix there, and I know, orange is an overall score, 51 to 65%. Does that then mean that you would get 65% of the funding, or 51 to 65%? Is that how that works? No, so that's just the success, that's the gate through to success. Then there's a separate documented process within the panel assessment process that steps out how we determine the amount of funding. Is that what you're saying?
Sorry, the assessment process itself is very stepped out. The financial process isn't documented, but we go through a series of gates to ensure that it can be delivered. If there are other funding sources available, and if the organisation is financially sustainable enough to fund a portion of their own application. So that can be documented as such, but it does go through a series of gates within that assessment program discussion.
Okay, so that's thank you. So how do we ensure equity with and once again, because this is a new funding process that we've implemented, so I'm just asking these questions so we know how it all works, and that if we need to make changes, we can. But how do we ensure equity with the various different groups that might apply for a funding, an initiative or whatever it might be, when we've got some groups that might apply for 40,000, some groups might apply for 10,000, you might opt to give 50% funding to both groups, but essentially it's 100% more funding than the other group got. So how does that balance through our process from your perspective in the assessment? Do you know what am I?
Yeah, absolutely. And again, it's a really good question. I do have Lee Griffiths and Sian Maddock online as well from our engagement partnerships team. But essentially, Councillor Goodluck, we have a responsibility to manage a budget that is approved by council, and we receive hundreds of applications per year. So it is really, it's a difficult process to go through, and that's why we make sure that we do have a panel, and that's why we do make sure that we have an assessment matrix with certain key performance indicators that we assess on, and they're given scores, etc. with equity, it really is. It is that process that I just mentioned before, Councillor Goodluck. So say if we received an application from an organisation that didn't receive funding from any other source and solely relied on council's investment to actually deliver the program, then quite likely we would recommend 100% funding so that we can ensure that it's delivered within the Gladstone region. If we were assessing an application from a community organisation that also receives funding from industry, say, we may fund it at a lesser amount, still ensuring that the program could be delivered, but they have access to other funding sources. So I hope that answers your question.
It does. Can I ask you one question? Do you, through this process that the team's gone through, do you think that it's worked well, or is there any changes that we could implement that might enable it to work better?
We're always seeking to improve the process. The assessment process has been in place since 2019, and we did that purposefully so that councillors could have a conversation with the community about exactly how their applications were rated. Formerly, we didn't have a process, so we now have a process that's completely transparent and assessed on the things that matter, that relate to our strategies. So the regional event strategy, for example, our visitor economy strategy, our community development strategy. So we really try to align all of those strategies within our assessment matrix when we're assessing the document. We also bring different people in with different perspectives so that we can, when we're assessing it, we're thinking from different minds. We're not all coming from the same space. So I do believe the process is sound and just and fair, but we are always looking for improvement, for ways to improve it. Councillor Goodluck.
And just finally, Kylie, thank you. With it's staff that sit on these panels, and when we have staff members, is it the same group or staff, or it changes? And also with respect to, because many of our staff are obviously involved in our community, they've got connections to various different clubs, etc. There's a conflict of interest register and mechanism that they have to register conflicts, and the same as councillors would sitting around this table, and that's all managed appropriately. Yep.
Absolutely, 100%. So we do declare our conflict of interest in application assessments, and we will seek alternate panel members to sit on those applications when we assess. So we do it very diligently and in the same capacity as you would be making decisions here. What we recommend to you is what we as officers believe is the best use of the community fund at the time. We're not going to get it right all the time, and that's where I think it's important to get your lens and view on things as well. But certainly there is a process of conflict of interest, and there is some diversity in the panel. We are going to open it up more broadly to get more employees involved in it. There are key people that are normally on the assessment panel. Our manager for engagement and partnerships is normally on the panel permanently. I am normally on the panel, and then we will swap through other people. There are other GMs that are also on the panel. Mark Francis and John Tumbers have joined me lately to go through that assessment process as well.
Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor. Is there any further questions? No, I'd like to move a motion from the Chair that we accept those 7 applications with increasing the Eqip recommendation to $30,000, and then we'll deal with the other 2 separately. Can I have a seconder, please? Thank you, Councillor Goodluck. I'll put that motion. All in favour? Councillor Churchill, thank you. The motion is carried. We'll now split the item as advised earlier. So Councillor Hanson and Councillor Churchill. I'll leave it up to you, Josh, how we can... Can you do what, sorry? Can I have a specific reason for the change in officer recommendation, increasing it to $30,000 for the reason? Yeah, that'll do. Basically, it's what we've allocated to Eqip since the dawn of time, and I would actually probably like to consider increasing that in a future meeting, but today I think we'll give them what they requested, It is just a unique program for the Gladstone region, and it needs to be supported to the budgeted amount, I believe, to keep the program going so that our young people in our community continue to get trained in those amazing trades that keep our industry going.
So, Mayor Matt, I'm going to go offline now and then come back on again to Teams when I'm invited, and I'll wait for a call or notification.
Thank you, Councillor Churchill. I'll send you a message. Thank you. Okay, both Councillor Churchill and Councillor Hanson have left the room. I'll hand back to you, Kylie, for not-for-profit house and integrate.
I have my mic on now. We have received 2 really great applications from Not-for-Profit House and Integrate Queensland. Integrate Queensland actually scored the highest out of all applications for the Elevator Fund, and hence we have fully funded that. That's to build the Gladstone Professional Skilled Worker Network. And the Not-for-Profit HQ is for training and development for not-for-profits, which is actually in line with our community development strategy. And I believe it's work that Council can leverage from as well as we roll out across the Gladstone region. Happy to answer any questions on both of those applications.
Questions, councillors? Councillor O'Grady.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor. I was just want to have a chat to you about, Kylie, about the non-profit house, so with the training. So can you tell me what the evaluation of with the last term that we actually had given them money?
The previous funding for Not-for-Profit House was for our grant writing service, and it has been phenomenal. We actually are looking to extend that as part of the Together Gladstone funding with our partnership with industry. It's been a fantastic service, and it's really been picked up by the community, and I think that's where capacity is assisted, where we're helping these groups to write really great grant applications, and then obviously they're more successful to get funding for those applications. So that's been really great. This one here is really a bit of both. So what we're seeing is the group's constitutions, community organisations' constitutions. Really, there's a lot of organisations that really need some support with that. And then the grant writing component is also included in that as well. That's okay.
Any other questions, councillors? Councillor Goodluck?
I did just have one on one of the others, the GAPDL, very quick, just a clarification comment. Is that all right?
The GAPDL one we've already passed.
Yes.
Sure.
I just wanted to confirm, that was for C4C, the GAPDL?
Communities for Children, yeah.
Yeah, thank you.
No further questions? Can I have a mover for the recommendation, please? Move Councillor Trevor, seconded Councillor Cameron. No further questions, comments? Put the motion, all in favour. The motion is carried as per recommendation. If we could have Councillor Henson, and I've just sent Councillor Churchill a message to come back online. Thank you, Kylie. Okay. We'll just wait for Councillor Churchill to get back online, and then we'll continue the meeting. Josh, will you be able to advise when that's happened?
Yeah, I believe the invite has been sent.
Thank you. Hope he hasn't wandered too far. There he is. Welcome back, Councillor Churchill. Thank you. Okay, we'll move to the next item on the agenda, which is G3.3, which is General Sole Supplier, and I'll hand over to the General Manager of Finance, Governance and Risk. Back to you, Mark.
Thanks, Mr. Mayor. This item is for the consideration of additional general sole suppliers to be added to our sole supplier list. Therefore, provision of some very specific services, and specifically they are for 5 lots of different freight routes within both the country and the region, and also the provision of our magazine and newspaper supply stocks for our council libraries. That is a specific request. So there's 5 companies identified there that can fulfil those services, and we're seeking the support of council to add them to our sole supplier listing.
Councillor O'Grady, thank you. Move Councillor O'Grady, seconded Councillor Branthwaite. It's pretty straightforward. Put the motion, all in favour. That's carried. Thank you, Mark. The next item on the agenda is G3.4, which is biosolids removal, reuse and dewatering, and I'll hand back to you, Mark. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. For this item, I'm also joined online by our Acting GM Operations, Rick Mulvey, and our Manager Contractor Procurements, Christy Wachner, who will be able to support the delivery of the paper. So this is for the provision of our continuing activities of our biosolids removal, our reuse, and also some very specific dewatering activities across the region that occur both within our wastewater system and also at our landfill site. We have gone to the market for the provision of those services under Tender 8722 and have received 2 submissions from companies provided for in the report, and the recommendation from the tender panel and the assessment is for the award to Impact Carbon Proprietary Limited for both essentially initial 2-year contract period with the option to extend that for an additional 2 should the conditions be met.
Thank you, Mark. Councillor Trevor, question?
Mark, I just had a question in relation, well, perhaps 2 questions. The first one is the estimated cost of the total project of $7,654,438. Is that just for the initial period of 2 years, or is it for the initial period of 2 years plus one option of 2 years and a further option of another 2 years?
It's for the full. It's for the 2 + 2 + 2. It is for that whole period. It is very specifically though what is contemplated is there is 3 components to the tender. The first component being the stockpile removal that occurs in both Benarabi and Gladstone. That is a several component. That's an initial lump sum. Then the balance of the activities are essentially annual maintenance items that occur across our business. Rick, from an operations perspective, did you have anything additional to add to that?
That answer.
Thanks, Mark, and good morning, everybody. The biggest concern that we have, I suppose, is that we can't step away from the importance of this contract. It is highly essential for council to meet their compliance. We were in a situation towards the end of last year where we had to put in a emergency provider to help us get through a certain situation. That provider's helped us out, and both that provider and the incoming will work together to get where we need to be.
Yeah, thanks, Rick. I understand the value and absolute importance of locking this in. The issue for me was just clarifying as to why it was an estimated total of 7 million plus, which now the answer is includes the options, and I understand why it's an estimate rather than a fixed fee.
Thank you. Councillor Churchill? No? Oh, sorry. I thought you was putting your hand up there.
All good. Thank you.
Any further questions? Councillor Hanson?
You caught us out a bit, Christy, I think it was, with the new evaluation report. I think we probably could go through that at some stage in the future to make sure that we're understanding of all of the parts of that new process. So you can work it out, but I mean, it's just a little bit different. So I think we should probably be able to go through that in the future.
Would you like clarification from that, Christy? Thank you. Sorry, are you online still? Are you able to clarify the... Oh, okay. Thank you. Any further questions, councillors? No? Can I have a mover for the recommendation? Thank you, Councillor Cameron. Councillor Trevor? Oh, sorry, Churchill, I'll get you next time. All in favour? That's carried. Okay, the next item on the agenda is G3.5 with our monthly financial report for the period ending the 31st of December. Oh, sorry, went one ahead. G3.5, which is the Central Queensland Regional Waste Working Group representatives. Back to you, Mark.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. There's been a request through CQ Rock for the establishment of the Central Queensland Regional Waste Management and Resource Recovery Group, and what we're seeking is Council's consideration of elected members to represent Council on that group. So open for Council's consideration of both the appointment of a councillor and also an alternate.
Thank you. I think Councillor Hanson would be a very good nominee for this and a delegate for an alternative as well, but Councillor Hanson?
Yes, having some experience as former chairman of the old group of the Central Queensland CQ Waste, yes, I'd be very, very interested in this position.
Thank you.
Happy to move it.
Oh, hang on. So you're moving already. I'll get you. But I've got some questions around the corner. Councillor Branthwaite, then O'Grady.
Yeah, I'd actually like to put my name forward for the alternative. Yep. Being part of the, I suppose, learning a lot about waste in the last two sessions down in Brisbane, and it's certainly an area of interest for me. Thank you.
Thank you. Is that what you were going to suggest, Councillor O'Grady?
Yes, Mr. Mayor. That's what I was going to do.
It's
Sorry, I got caught up in my earrings.
Yeah, it certainly has. Is there any other interest in this position? Okay, so Councillor Churchill was going to move, so you're happy to move Councillor Hanson be our delegate and Councillor Branthwaite be our alternative?
Yeah, with absolute pleasure, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Mover, can I have a seconder, please? Thank you, Councillor Cameron. Is there any further discussion, debate, questions? Put the motion. All in favour? That's carried. Thank you, and thank you, Councillor Hanson, Councillor Branthwaite. Now we'll move on to the next one, which is G3.6, which is the monthly financial report for the period ending 31st of December 2021. Back to you, Mark.
Thanks, Mr. Mayor. This is your monthly financial report through to essentially the end of December, so taking us to 50% of the financial year. It does incorporate some updated forecasts from the businesses based on where we're tracking from our essentially current progress through the financial year, and those major movements are summarised there in those 5 dot points. That has seen a minor deterioration in our operating deficit, and but if I'm to sum all that up, it really there's one movement that moves us from essentially a $0.9 million operating deficit to a $1.8 million, and that is essentially the treatment of our inventory production for our gravel pits, and that's going down $1 million. So with the time of adoption of the budget, we were looking at continuing that business and therefore able to treat that as a stock item. Therefore, it was just impacting our balance sheet. As now that is not the case, and we're essentially buying that in, we're not utilising that gravel. It essentially isn't any expenses we incur in that space is essentially just operating expense, and we've got to basically take it through essentially your profit and loss. Mm-hmm. So it is that one change is essentially your one movement that gives that change. There's a number of other movements there, significantly some forecast increases in revenue from the income tax equivalents from the Water Board, but we've also got some increases in loan costs based on our finalisation with the loan restructuring. Given the timing of that, there was some movements in the interest rates that led to some increases in the final financing costs that have been carried forward annually as a result of those, and also the finalisation of our EBA has had an impact as well. So there was a minor increase in there above what we had anticipated, and that has a $0.7 million difference over the financial year. So from an expense perspective, overall we're sitting at 49% against 50%, so really bang on budget. From a revenue perspective, sitting at 78%, and that's very much in line with obviously the fact that we've generated a lot of our revenue up front with our general rates. Our water rates will be going out in February, so we'll see that figure increase in the February financial statements. You won't see that in January, you'll see that in the February statements. With respect to our capital, continued to track a little bit behind where we would like to be at the moment, so sitting at $25 million worth of actual spend, with a further $13 million already committed, so it takes us to around about that $38 million in expenditure and commitments against that $73 million budget. So still some work to be done there, and you'll see a estimate there that it sees we're probably anticipating more around that $66 million mark from a spend perspective. With respect to our outstanding rates, pleased to report that at 7.88%, that is the lowest figure in the last 7 years with respect to our outstanding rates. So that trend continues, which is pleasing to see. But happy to take any questions with respect to the report.
Thank you. Councillor Goodluck.
Thanks, Mr. Mayor. Mark, the $5 million in asset governance, is that the extra $5 million that we had for potential capital projects?
So what we did for, allow from a budgeting perspective for good governance was allow in case we did have any emergent needs come through, emergent mains breaks, any particular reason, we've allowed for that in our asset governance pool, $5 million, that enable to reallocate that across the business should we have a capital need arise. Thankfully, we haven't required that at the moment. We've managed within our existing budgets.
Thank you. And then the capital projects forecast. So you've got the 73.5 down to 67.6 million forecast. Is that inclusive of the 5 million in that asset governance?
Yep. So 73.5 included is so 67.6 includes that. Yep.
So if we hit the 67.6, it's effectively 100% delivery of our capital works program, with the exception of that 5 million that was put aside for a potential emerging needs. That's right? Yeah.
Well, 100% would be about 68.5, so it'd be very close to that. Yeah, you'd be essentially 99, 98%.
Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Hanson.
Yes, Mr. Mayor. Mark, with the vacancy rate being 9% at the moment with our staff, and we're budgeted for 6%, and then we've got the increase in EB, is it necessary to adjust the budget mid-term for that?
Yeah, so the vacancy rate has assisted in offsetting some of those other movements we've had. But what you're seeing there, the forecast represents based on the 6%, because we've got no guarantee of that continuing. We may see that come on, review as we go further down the track. If we're still tracking from a vacancy rate in and around that, 8 to 9% coming March, April, then we'll probably be confident to project that out. So just it's more having confidence in and around that figure. It is looking like it's a long-term trend, and it's in there, but it's just getting that confidence in and around that. But certainly sitting at 49% at the moment indicates we're very much just have offset that vacancy rate with either additional resources from essentially other business units or casual labour, and also our EBA increase.
Thank you. Councillor Churchill. You've got to put your mic on, Councillor Churchill. We can't hear you. Sorry.
Yeah, thanks, Mayor Matt. Just probably a segue from what Councillor Rick was referring to. A question, Mark. In light of the information that you provided, is it our responsibility under the Local Government Act or the Queensland Audit Office to do a budget review in light of some of the elements that you've mentioned, and perhaps some of the unknown going forward with EB, COVID and everything else? Or is that the responsibility of ARIC, our ARIC committee, in relation to a budget review?
Yeah, ARIC committee is very much an oversight. It's a responsibility of council and management to adopt a new budget or a budget review if that's required at this point. We've taken very much looking through doing forecasts, recognising that's things can move and change in that space. To formally adopt a budget revision, you need to adopt your full budget again. We did do that last year, and it is something we do want to wait until the very last moment if we do need to do that again, because it is a significant workload on the business if that is something we need to do. So we certainly that's why we certainly try to do everything we can to manage within our adopted budget.
Okay, thanks for that.
Thank you, councillors. Any further questions? No? Can I have a mover, please? Move Councillor Hanson, seconded Councillor Branthwaite. Put the motion. All in favour? That's carried. The next item on the agenda is G3.7, which is, speaking of ARIC, our Audit, Risk and Improvement Committee meeting minutes for the 1st of December. Back to you, Mark.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. Attached are the minutes to the Audit Risk and Improvement Committee that was held on the 1st of December. Attaches there include the main highlights discussed were obviously some updates with respect to our transformation program and our works delivery work in that space, updates on both our external audit progress, both for the previous financial year and the conclusion of that in the financial report, but also the plan looking ahead for the 21-22 financial year, as well as providing some updates in and around our safety that was presented. And so happy to take questions with respect to that. Perhaps even members from the committee could add some support as well.
Thank you. Comments, questions, or thank you, Councillor Churchill, then Councillor O'Grady. Councillor Churchill, would you wanting to add something? Okay.
Yeah, thanks, Mayor Matt. It's a quick one. On page 22, Mark, there's reference to environmental incidents, the reporting of environmental incidents. This should be straightforward. I just wanted to get an understanding or an example of what they are asking for from an ARIC committee in relation to their role of overview. Are we talking about Environmental Protection Authority issues, or are we talking within our workforce environment? What's the type of environmental incidents that they're making reference to?
It's the first example you mentioned there. So when we're talking about environmental incidents in that space, it is reporting against our environmental licences and our conditions to operate. So where we've had breaches of those, we report those, and we notify. There's some of those incidents we just manage. Some of those incidents we need to report. So ARIC, as we talked about earlier, as that committee of oversight, looks at the whole business, not just our financials, but also our safety, and also our compliance against all levels of our legislative obligations, of which environmental compliance is one of those.
Okay, so there's no suggestion or inference that we haven't been reporting on environmental incidents in the past in relation to our environmental licence, is there? Is this just now they'd like to overview them?
No, it's just that the audit committee is seeking to get some visibility of those. So our management executive team sees monthly reports with respect to our environmental reporting. It's looking at just making sure we provide that reporting and we can bring those reports through to ARIC.
Okay, thank you.
Councillor O'Grady.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. The rest of the committee, Kerry, Stephen and Sandra, actually sent an email which was distributed to thank Councillor Goodluck for all the good work that he's done over the years that he's been on the committee. So I just wanted to make that noted and wish the new committee members all the best. So, but yeah, they really stressed about how much input actually Councillor Goodluck had to put in. So thank you.
Comment, Councillor Goodluck.
Thanks, Councillor O'Grady. Just wanted to take the opportunity to thank Kerry as the chair and Sandra and Steve for the great work they do. They're our independent members of the committee with expertise in finance and governance and help council audit our operations and how we're doing things. And it's a fantastic committee to be a part of. I wish Councillor Muscat and I think Councillor Cameron, the new appointees, every success. And it's great to see, I know Councillor Hanson and I think Councillor Cameron was noted as attendees in the committee, even as observers. I'll certainly continue to be an observer in the meetings. I just you won't hear from me, but I'll be giving you the evil eyes when I think something's not going on. No. But it's a really great committee to be a part of, and it really lets you delve into the effectiveness of how council operates. So it's great to see so much interest from all councillors with our audit and integrity committee, and also the mayor who's always an attendee as well. So it's been a real pleasure to be a part of that committee, and I look forward to seeing it continue to move on. So thanks, Councillor O'Grady, and thank you once again to Kerry, Sandra and Stephen. They really provide a great deal of expertise for council.
Thank Thank you. Councillors, any further comments or questions? Can I have a mover for the recommendation? Councillor O'Grady. Councillor Churchill seconding. All in favour? That's carried. Okay, councillors, there's no deputations. Is there any councillor reports? I have no written councillor reports. Any verbal councillor reports? No. We have no urgent business, no notices of motion, but we do have a confidential item. So I'll read that out. G8.1. Item G8.1 is the Planning Environment Court appeal between Urella Sports Club Incorporated and will be closed under section 254J(E), legal proceedings involving the local government, as this item will discuss options to resolve a Planning Environment Court appeal. I'll have a move it into confidential, please. Thank you, Councillor Goodluck, and second to Councillor Branthwaite. We'll put the motion all in favour. Thank you. We'll clear the gallery and stop the live stream temporarily.
Sign up to Council's disaster and weather event warning system. Receive alerts about emergency news, severe weather events and other public safety alerts via SMS or email. Registering to the disaster messaging system is free. To register, visit Gladstone Regional Council's Region Watch website and click on the Register for Warnings button. Get ready, Gladstone. Take the steps to protect what's most important to you. Let's be better prepared and protected for emergencies and disasters.
Gladstone Regional Council are committed to fostering a proud, involved and engaged community. The Gladstone Regional Council Community Investment Program provides financial support to local community initiatives, projects and events which promote community connections, regional enhancements, community celebrations and community education. For more information on the Community Investment Program, visit gladstone.qld.gov.au. Gladstone Regional Council. Connect, innovate, diversify.
Illegal dumping and littering is a concern across the Gladstone region, with over 134 offences in the last 18 months. Our region is beautiful, but there are a few bad apples that ruin it for the rest of us, and they need to clean up their act.
Commonly found items at illegal dumping sites across the region include car bodies and batteries, mattresses, tyres, white goods and furniture, and green waste. These items can be disposed of at any of the region's waste transfer stations, some of them even for free.
Illegal dumping and littering pollutes our environment, harms plants and animals, and detracts from the enjoyment of our public spaces. It can lead to stormwater and ocean pollution, with large amounts of plastic, sugar sachets, and cigarette butts caught in stormwater traps and grates.
It's cheaper for everyone to dispose of waste correctly. Illegal dumping and littering costs our ratepayers thousands of dollars each year in waste management and clean-up. It's also costly for our dumper, with penalties of up to $10,000.
We can all work together to keep our region beautiful and dispose of waste responsibly by placing rubbish in the bins, or even holding onto the rubbish until you're near a suitable bin, and using our local waste facilities. Don't be part of the problem of pollution. We want you to be a part of the solution.
From towns to the bush, illegal dumping and littering is everybody's responsibility. Protect our public spaces and natural environment by doing the right thing for today and tomorrow.
If you see illegal dumping,
dive in a dumper.
See it,
report it, stop it.
Sign up to Council's disaster and weather event warning system. Receive alerts about emergency news, severe weather events and other public safety alerts via SMS or email. Registering to the disaster messaging system is free. To register, visit Gladstone Regional Council's Region Watch website and click on the Register for Warnings button. Get ready, Gladstone. Take the steps to protect what's most important to you. Let's be better prepared and protected for emergencies and disasters.
Gladstone Regional Council are committed to fostering a proud, involved and engaged community. The Gladstone Regional Council Community Investment Program provides financial support to local community initiatives, projects and events which promote community connections, regional enhancements, community celebrations and community education. For more information on the Community Investment Program, visit gladstone.qld.gov.au. Gladstone Regional Council. Connect, innovate, diversify.
Illegal dumping and littering is a concern across the Gladstone region, with over 134 offences in the last 18 months. Our region is beautiful, but there are a few bad apples that ruin it for the rest of us, and they need to clean up their act.
Commonly found items at illegal dumping sites across the region include car bodies and batteries, mattresses, tyres, white goods and furniture, and green waste. These items can be disposed of at any of the region's waste transfer stations, some of them even for free.
Illegal dumping and littering pollutes our environment, harms plants and animals, and detracts from the enjoyment of our public spaces. It can lead to stormwater and ocean pollution, with large amounts of plastic, sugar sachets, and cigarette butts caught in stormwater traps and grates.
It's cheaper for everyone to dispose of waste correctly. Illegal dumping and littering costs our ratepayers thousands of dollars each year in waste management and clean-up. It's also costly for our dumper, with penalties of up to $10,000.
We can all work together to keep our region beautiful and dispose of waste responsibly by placing rubbish in the bins, or even holding onto the rubbish until you're near a suitable bin, and using our local waste facilities. Don't be part of the problem of pollution. We want you to be a part of the solution.
From towns to the bush, illegal dumping and littering is everybody's responsibility. Protect our public spaces and natural environment by doing the right thing for today and tomorrow.
If you see illegal dumping,
Dob in a dumper.
See it,
report it, stop it.
Well, welcome back to our community gallery, and for those watching on live stream, we had a confidential council item on the agenda, and I'm looking now for a councillor to move the officer's recommendation or an alternative. Councillor Goodluck, you're happy to move the officer's recommendation? We'll put that on the screen. Can I have a seconder, please? Thank you. Thank you, Councillor Hanson. And the officer's recommendation is that council resolve to delegate to the Chief Executive Officer the authority to give instructions to council solicitors to consent to the judgment to settle the planning appeal for the Planning Environment Court Appeal BD 1649/21 Urella Sports Club versus Gladstone Regional Council. I have a mover and Councillor Goodluck, a second, and Councillor Hanson. Any further discussion or debate? Put the motion. All in favour? The motion is carried. Councillor Churchill, thank you. There's no further items on the agenda. I declare the meeting closed at 10:15. Thank you.